Coming off my giant 3.7K session, I put that money right to use playing 4 sessions this past week. I was put in many more tough spots that did not make life fun while I was at the table. However, it did lead to some interesting spots that are debatable on which line was the best to take on multiple streets. Let's get into it.
First hand is standard pre-flop, raised with queen 10 suited and get the big blind to call. Flop brings an up and down straight draw. I continuation bet, pretty standard again. It will get ace highs to fold as well as some small pocket pairs. Betting also sets up a big potential pot if I hit on the turn, or if I miss, I can check it back and try to hit on the river since I haven't pegged as a bit of a station. Don't bluff, calls, and we come to our first real decision of the hand. A queen comes on the turn, giving me top pair. With no player information, I for sure lean towards checking, since a check raise would be a really tricky spot for me, and I would not enjoy bet folding. Against this player, though, that has shown to call light, I felt a bet was better because I can get King Jack, Jack 10, 10-9, Ace 10, and all flush draws to continue. Plenty of stronger holdings in his range also, though, that I'm behind, like King 10, 10-8, Queen Jack, and Jack 9. I feel I was a little bit too ambitious to bet, even against a loose passive player. He does make the call. We come to our second real decision of the hand, a river 10, giving us 2 pair, and we face a bet of 55. Need to be good about 20% of the time to make this a profitable call. The first thing I think of is, will he have any worse hands he value/blocker bets with, like worse 2 pairs? It really wouldn't make sense with a hand like Jack 10 because just a king makes a straight and I can easily have that. He would have to essentially panic bet, which he might do. Next is, will he bluff a missed flush draw? I don't have any diamonds in my hand, but I don't think that's too relevant since queens and tens of diamonds will be at least 1 pair, and most of the time 2 pair would most likely check. I'm comparing basically just missed ace-high flush draws versus all the kings he could possibly have, like king-queen, king-jack, and king-9. He might also bet with the few 8s that he has, like 8-7 of diamonds. Thinking about it now, this looks like a clear-cut fold. Not enough combos of ace-high flush draws with just ace-7 down to ace-2. Then not even a guarantee he will bluff at it with those. I do just make the stubborn call and get shown king-queen of diamonds. Pretty bad mistake there, and probably also a smaller mistake betting the turn as well. Not the greatest hand I've ever played, to say the least. King 8 with a walk in the big blind, and this is more like it. Easy decisions with trip 8s, good kicker, and I want to pile in the money. Could go for a lead, but I went for the check raise and got the opportunity, getting a cold call as well as the original bettor doing the same. Turn is a total brick. I bet again for 3/4 pot. Seems pretty likely at least one player, especially the cold caller, has an 8, and most of those would be needing to boat up on the river with smaller kickers. A call makes an 8 even more likely, and after a perfect deuce on the river, getting value from trip 8 seems much better than check calling, hoping a missed draw bluffs at it. All in, then a snap call. Still semi-confident I'm ahead, until I see pocket jacks for a flop full house. What are those? Did not put that into his limp under the gun range. Time to end this session. Lost 2 buy-ins of $600, and it wasn't my night. Ran poorly and played poorly. This is the type of session I enjoy playing. Stress-free, clear-cut, incredibly easy to make decisions. Pocket aces, facing an isolation raise from what seems like a tight solid player. I 3-bet to 50 and get a call. Flop comes 9-8-4, 2 diamonds, and I go for a 3/4 pot bet. Over pairs, which will be a big portion of this player's range, I believe, and flush draws will call this bet just as much as a smaller one, I think. It then sets up for a pot-sized turn shove. After a call and a 5 of hearts on the turn, I go for it after taking a few seconds. getting a non-snap call, so I know I'm good. The 10 of diamonds scares me, but I turn my hand over, get a big show of frustration, and take down a nice big pot. Pocket deuces in the cutoff, facing an isolation raise of 20. The player has plenty behind, and with the hand likely going very multi-way, I feel it is a slightly profitable set mine. 6 ways to a flop, basic robot poker time. If I see another 2, all in. If I don't, fold. Time to raise and get it in. He calls, strangely leaving himself $68, which goes in on the turn. River, full house. Good thing though it was a 4 and not a 3, because the player had 3-2 suited. Those 2 hands were the biggest by far of the session. Up $620, won back my previous buy-ins, plus a little tip. The next day's session was more like the first than the second. Tough spots combined with possibly me not playing the most optimal lines. I will let you be the judge. Starting off with ace-queen suited, raising 2 limps to 20, and going 4 ways to a great flop, top pair, top kicker. I face a 1/2 pot donk lead from Blackbeard. Not the pirate, but a physical description. To me, this is never a super strong holding, most often a flush draw, maybe a weak queen. I decide to call, being last to act, could for sure go for a raise. It's just that screams top pair better, and I don't want weaker queens to fold. With position, I think the line's fine. Turn is great, an offsuit ace, and the same bet of 40. This is now a for sure raise, and this bet looks exactly like a flush draw trying to set his own price. I make it 160 to go. It is 4x, but somewhat deceiving since his bet was so small. I'm giving him 3-1 on a call. Plenty of hands will call a bigger raise of around $240, I think. Most flush draws are actually also combo draws looking back at this hand. Ace-high flush draws, all 2 Broadway clubs, then others like 6-7, 6-8, and 7-8 of clubs. He does call after my sizing mistake. The river is really bad in the 10 of clubs. I face a 3/5 pot size shove. Can't see any value hands I beat, or many bluffs I can pick off. Really just 6-7, and would that really donk twice and call a raise planning on jamming club rivers? Could. I don't think so, and would just have to give him credit for a good bluff. I fold, and he doesn't show, leaning me into even more believing folding was the right play against a flush. The weaker version of ace-queen this time, and a similar situation, going 4 ways. Good flop, with me deciding to check, underrepresenting my hand with no flush draw out there and hoping a player behind me bets. Checks through though. A bet was most likely better since players overplay draws like king-jack and will call with all weaker aces anyway. Turn is a 9, and now is for sure time to bet with now a backdoor flush draw on board. I get a call from Blackbeard. River is great with a third 10. After a check, I decide to size down to 50, making it look kind of weak. He might think I'm obviously bluffing since I didn't bet the flop and will bluff raise me with a missed straight or flush draw. He could also obviously have an ace and we are chopping. He does indeed go for it, making it $100 more, and I call right away. He quickly verbalizes 10, eventually showing king 10. Not much I can do the way I played the flop. Maybe Blackbeard is an actual pirate. He be plundering all me treasure. Pocket 8s and raise to 30 with a button straddle and 1 limp from middle position. I get 1 caller and the big blind decides to click it back to 60. And the button decides on a cold call and the action is on me. The next player is very short stacked and might go all in, reopening the action and the original 3-better will chip it in. But he doesn't seem like that strong of a player, and I think calling is the best play. I could have also semi-bluffed pre-flopped all in, but I don't think that would have generated many folds at all. pot is already $250, and my $30 call was getting over 8-1 immediately on a call. Flop comes paired with queens and also a 7, and the pre-flop 3-better checks. I decided to check back. Clear play in my opinion. The 2 players left to act have short stacks, and I would have no problem calling them. Then I could also see what the deeper stack aggressor does. Checks all the way through though, then nothing changes on the turn except facing a bet of 100. My first tough decision of the hand. The raiser has such a strong incentive to bluff, since I'm the only real player he has to worry about, and the pot is huge. Could be aces or kings. Players do play those weird sometimes. I decide on a call though, thinking I'm ahead enough of the time. Not sure about it. Both short stacks fold, and after a safe river, another bet of 100. 5.5-1 on a call now, and this seems like a clear call getting this far. Could be doing this with ace high, I guess. He did check the flop and could be unsure what to do now. He shows 2 kings and another iffy played hand by me. The turn was the key point in the hand. Perhaps I should have gotten away. Down $634 that session, filled with questions on how I should have played a few of those hands. Pocket 5s now, and I raise 1 limper to 15, getting a raise from the button when a call comes in between. Then a cold call from the big blind as well as from the limper. Somewhat similar spot with the 8's last hand, giving a little more credence to bluff shoving though this time. This was the first time the button 3-bet, and I wasn't sure I would generate many folds. I didn't do this calculation at the table, but knowing pocket 5s is a 2-1 underdog against jacks plus and ace king, if I always get called by the button with that range and everyone else folds, my shove would be about a $100 negative EV play. So I would need the 3-better to fold, including everyone else, which you can never count on, at least 36.5% of the time to make this a profitable shove if the 3-better always calls with the range of jacks plus and ace king. Nope, don't think that is worth it. Then that also needs to be more profitable than calling, which I feel is for sure plus EV. Crazy things happen though. Maybe he folds jacks or ace king since players are so used to seeing aces and kings when they're all in preflop. We are going 5 ways to a crazy big pot looking to hit a set and play basic robot poker.
Wake up! Wake up! I said wake up!
An overpair and an up and down straight draw. First decision is to bet or check. I believe the aggressor will continue with his ace-king and ace-queen combos, so I decide to check. He ends up betting small for 1/3 size the pot, and the action's on me. Now my second decision, raise all in or call. I wasn't sure at all, to be honest, especially with this small bet sizing. If it was larger, I would have for sure just shoved. I want his ace-king and ace-queen to continue bluffing, having just 3 outs, but he might just feel committed with those hands and call it off thinking he has 2 overs and a gut shot. If he folds any overpairs, like pocket 10s, this is a slam dunk jam.
Slam, and welcome to the jam. Come on and slam, if you wanna jam.
I decide to call, getting great odds, and see what develops.
White men can't jump.
Now my third decision, lead out with my straight or check. He might check back an ace, and then of course all his now under pairs like pocket jacks. Maybe just a set of aces will now bet. So I go for what I still think the best play is in leading. Then he very quickly folds. This is one of the downsides of just calling with big draws that I didn't mention earlier. Sometimes when you hit, you simply won't get paid off. Interesting hand every single street, with me most likely making the minimum. That session ended positive $403, so overall, down $600, up $620, down $634, And up again, 403, makes for a small total loss of $211.
Hopefully you enjoyed the spots, even if you didn't enjoy the play. No vlog next week. I will be out of town for Thanksgiving. Have a great holiday, and see you in December.